Right now, when someone connects to Dimo, they have one app, the Dimo mobile app. And ideally in 2025, when they connect to Dimo mobile and 6 other apps, their insurance company, a social app, an app for collecting NFTs based on the real world driving, a Pokémon Go-style app. So what we're optimizing for next year is the product of the number of cars connected times the number of apps they're connected to. We want to get that number as big as possible.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fully Diluted. My name's Dylan. I'm a research analyst on the enterprise team at Messari. Today, we're joined by Rob, co-founder of Dimo, a high-profile DPIN focused on mobility and driver data. Also joined by Kinji, our usual host, who's on the enterprise team as well. So I'll just let Rob start off giving high-level overview of Dimo, what's the story behind it, and what problem is it solving?
Dimo is the global API layer for cars. So we make it so any developer, whether that's like a big automotive company or an insurance company, or even just someone building like an online social community for Porsche owners or whatever it is, give them the ability to connect to a car. And everybody knows that, a lot of people who know Dimo know that we enable like data streaming. So you can see the car's location and speed and all that kind of stuff. So you can build cool products like usage-based insurance and all of that. But we also enable commands to be sent back to the car, like lock and unlock. And in the future, that'll be summon and send route guidance and that kind of stuff. And even, honestly, more exciting than that is payments. We'll be able to modernize commerce in this industry where titles, payments, insurance contracts, rental contracts, whatever, can all be on chain and digital. So we want to make buying a car as easy and digital as booking an Uber, or make your insurance as data-driven as your Instagram feed is. And the fact that it's not is just honestly just like, it's still operating in 1950s tech world with fax machines and trips to the DMV and all that. So we're here to fix it.
Gotcha. Could you go a bit more into kind of the state of driver data? So I think a lot of people might not be aware, but very large companies can gain a lot of value from car data, driving data, and users might not have access to monetize this, might not have control over it. How does Dimo give ownership over that data and bring more value or shift more value from companies to actual users?
I'll use an analogy that everybody here is pretty familiar with, which is phones. So we had landlines first, right? Those were as dumb as it gets, like totally analog devices. That's like your 2005 sedan that you had, first car that you drove, whatever. That's basically a landline phone. Then you get slightly more modern, and we're talking like, OnStar, Ford Pass, My BMW. Okay, we're like a flip phone now. It's digital. You can move it around. Maybe you can play Snake on it. You can do some fun stuff, but it's not really a smartphone yet. And then I would say, Tesla definitely has earned at least the BlackBerry designation. Like there's some real smart things you can do with your car. You can summon it. You can really control quite a bit remotely. They're really a software company that's also producing hardware as opposed to just a hardware company struggling to figure out what to do with software. But we've still yet to reach that like iPhone moment where you have like a truly smart thing that anybody anywhere can just deploy applications for. And when we talk about applications, a lot of times people think about CarPlay or phone apps. We don't mean that. We mean when you go to connect to your insurance website, you shouldn't have to type in the VIN of your car. You should have to estimate the odometer or how many miles you'll drive or things like that. You should just click a button, connect your car to Geico, and it should just get whatever information you share with it. And they should be able to subscribe to that and build experiences for you. So because cars are still in that flip phone era that are not, they're not open, what you have is the automakers collecting lots of data, sometimes selling that, unbeknownst to you, to insurance companies that will raise your premiums and things like that. You're not part of the equation, and they're not opening it as a developer platform. So the main headline is you want to share your car data with a mechanic so they can better diagnose your issue and fix it. You can't, because the data is siloed and locked in. You maybe don't want to share your information with Palantir, but you also can't stop it because the automaker is just kind of doing it behind your back. So Dimo exists to give users that control back and build an open platform.
Gotcha. How did you settle on blockchain, a decentralized model to do this? Why couldn't you do this in a more centralized way?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think, a lot of crypto projects, it's like the founders love crypto and how can I justify including crypto in this thing I'm doing, and they just like launch a token or something. I think Dimo is one of several examples of projects where it was like this couldn't really exist without blockchain. Imagine the alternative to what we're describing, right? It's like if we want to give a digital identity to every car and you want to make them programmable and all that kind of stuff. If Apple were to be like, we'll give every car an Apple ID, it'll be like your Apple Car ID, and that's the new VIN for your car. And if you want to transfer a title, use the Apple Developer Kit. And if you want to pay for things, use Apple Pay. In fact, we insist on it. If you don't, we'll kick you off, and you better be. We're going to charge you 30%. And by the way, when we launch our own car, we're going to prioritize that car and screw over your car. It's like it just like won't work in this industry. It's a very fragmented industry. A lot of enterprise, they don't even trust CarPlay. A lot of times, like GM took CarPlay out of its cars. Tesla and Rivian never added it because they're afraid of ceding too much control, even of the infotainment system, to a centralized party. So it has to be a decentralized protocol. And like email is, like internet is, right? Where no one can kick you off of email, no one can kick you off of the internet because it's an open protocol. So the only way to build a protocol for mobility that has state and identity and like an ownership record that can be transferred is for it to be on a distributed ledger, which is why it has to be on blockchain.
Makes sense. Could you walk us through the kind of value flow in Dimo? So from users using Dimo devices or otherwise to that data going, I guess, to the demand side in terms of like who's paying that. What's that value flow?
Yeah. So what we're here to do, originally, a lot of people know Dimo as like, we help you monetize your data, which is like, kind of true. That's a part of what we're doing. But think of the data monetization thing as like an app that would be built on Dimo. At the end of the day, Dimo is a protocol for you to share your car data with whoever you want to. And maybe you choose to share your car data with a data union. Maybe you don't. If you share it with a data union, they could give you some cash back when they help monetize your data. If you don't share it, you're not getting cash back. So we still enable that. But at the end of the day, it's you can share data with whoever you want to, and that developer can build applications for car owners regardless of where they are, what type of car they have. We kind of normalize everything, make it very easy to add a car, add a user, that kind of thing. The value that is created for the driver could be different depending on the application. If it's a data union, the value is you're getting a dividend for your data. If it's an insurance application, maybe you're saving money on your monthly insurance. If it's a Pokémon Go-style game where you drive through the world and collect badges for visiting national parks, maybe it's like social and it's just like a fun community to be a part of. So the value is different depending on what the use case is. And at the end of the day, for the protocol, the way it makes money is it just charges. We actually have governance live right now, $1.25 per month per car to stay connected to it. So if you're a developer building an application for cars, it's just a simple $1.25 payment paid in Dimo credits. Those credits result in the revenue for the protocol in Dimo. So the only way to create a Dimo credit is to spend Dimo tokens to make one.
How large would you estimate is the market for this data?
So the market for mobility is in the trillions, possibly 10 trillion. And just the data, I mean, there's a McKinsey report saying $600 a year per car. There's 1.5 billion cars. So we're still in the trillions. No, we're not. We're in the high hundreds of billions in that for just the data. Not every car in the world is worth the same too. I think that was like more modern Western vehicles would be worth that. But eventually, you can see where this is, project where it's headed. But again, like we don't just do the data. We do, we're doing commands. We're doing commerce as well. So yeah, this industry is trillions. By the way, there's like emerging industry too with self-driving and electrification and all that. So the industry is expanding, and we can enable entirely new use cases. So yeah, we're talking about a massive market. And again, we're not just here to peddle data. We're here to dramatically unlock innovation across industries, whether it's like insurance companies, financing companies, used car dealership, rental, ride hail. Will power the next Web3 version of Uber, that kind of thing. So when you can unlock innovation in these industries, you can eke out some pretty meaningful percentage improvements. Because again, like people are used to innovation on industries that are already pretty mature. Now, I love Farcaster, but Twitter is pretty good. Like it's not like Farcaster is born, but Twitter doesn't exist, and it's the first of its kind. It's an iteration on a similar type of social network. For Dimo, there's really not a pervasive connected mobility network that, so these industries have been waiting for decades to have this really, I guess, centuries modernization of these commerce rails and use of data.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think one of our core theses at Messari is that industries of no incumbent or existing infrastructure on the Web 2 side are better suited for blockchain and kind of a crypto type system.
You asked why blockchain, and I think not only does that make them more competitive, the fact that there's not a Web 2 incumbent, but it's also why isn't there a Web 2 incumbent? And I think in our case, it's because that Apple ID version I talked about, it doesn't fly. There's no viable centralized version of it. So therefore it doesn't exist. So the only way to build it is with crypto.
What would you say are the core scaling or growth constraints for Dimo, and what are you doing to solve those?
There are no real hard constraints. There's the constraint of the data is currently, so the data is the NFT for your vehicle is on chain, and the permission setting is on chain. The payments are on chain, but the data, in terms of where your car is and the odometer fuel level, that's stored off chain. And the NFT point store that's stored off chain, it's stored by a node. Right now, we're running the only node. And as a US company, we're not able to store data for Chinese citizens, for example, in China. So we're constrained geographically by the fact that there are not multiple global nodes yet, which we're working on unblocking the ability for other people to run nodes. We're constrained by the fact that we haven't decoded every single type of car there is in the world. So for most Western vehicles, use standard OBD signals. We can decode the data off those cars and know what they mean. We can know we can take the VIN and know what type of make, model, and year the car is, learn all this information about the car. We can't do that for every car everywhere in the world. So we're constrained there. But these are all very solvable things. We just need to, we're focusing in a certain market first, and we're going to move on to them when we can.
Yeah. And in terms of the data, how do you verify the accuracy, or I guess the validity of that data? Is there any issue there between potential spoofing of data, and is there even any incentive to do that?
No more than anywhere else you have data. So our tokenomics don't incentivize you to drive more miles or whatever. It's really once you connect for the week and you're qualified for that week and you'll earn your reward. There's things you can certainly do. And with us, the physical device, it has a secure element in it and it's minted on chain. It's kind of impossible to create a spoofed version of this. This is our dongle that you can plug into any car, 2008 and up. Newer cars don't even need this, by the way. Newer cars, you can just log in with your Tesla email password and connect that way. But for cars that are not already connected, you can use one of these. And this has a secure element. It's pinging cell towers. It's hard to fake that. If you have this thing plugged into a box in your closet, it's not going to be moving through space. And if it's you're not going to just load this onto a car and drive it around to hit different cell towers and not just plug it into the car at that point. There's really not an incentive to do that. No, we have good security measures. There's an accelerometer in here. There's more you can do to kind of look at the data and build up a trust score for it. But yeah, so and then with the more modern cars, which is kind of our future, the device is sort of for older vehicles, but every car being built now is connected. And with those vehicles, we connect directly to the vehicle itself. So unless you're a man inside of Toyota finding a way to mess with these, you're not going to be able to spoof the data.
Right. Also, in terms of airdrops or compensation, I think that happens every Monday, if I'm correct. Why that decision?
So yeah, there's a couple of different ways you could do this type of thing. We're not a blockchain, so it doesn't make sense to do a reward every block. And people don't drive every single day. They don't drive the same amount of miles every single day. So we felt a week was a good amount of time where it's look, if you are still connected this week, if you send data this week, hey, you're qualified. We don't even we don't need you to drive. You're not necessarily less valuable to us if you only drive one day versus 5 days a week. Sure, if we're all about selling road quality data and mapping out streets, then driving every day is helpful. But for insurance applications, for social applications, just being connected is what we're looking for. Not driving is still data. The fact that you didn't drive is still interesting information for insurance companies who are underwriting your risk. So you connect once in the week, you're qualified, you're good. The other options you might pursue, maybe you would do like a per mile thing, but then it's totally unpredictable how many tokens you're distributing. And if someone were to go, like everyone were just going like really massive road trips, maybe for Thanksgiving or something, all of a sudden your outflows, like your inflation is like out of control that week. This way, the way that we've done it, there's a set amount that goes out every week and it's divided up based on whoever qualified. And if you did it by hour or something, then yeah, it would pay a lot of money to drive in circles at 3 a.m. We don't want people like up all night driving just to qualify during odd hours where there's fewer people splitting the reward. So it's a model that I think makes a lot of sense for us, but not for every project.
Let's also go a bit into the blockchain architecture. So Dimo was built initially on Polygon. You recently announced a migration to Base. Could you explain the rationale behind that decision, as well as like the timeline for that migration?
So the important thing that I'll call out first is the migration was about the protocol itself. There's also the Dimo token, which is a part of the protocol, but it's a little bit separate. So the protocol is like where we mint the vehicles and how the permissions for who can access the vehicles are set. And this device has a wallet on it, and it will like bind itself to the vehicle NFT on chain. There's a lot of things that happen on chain. That's what we're talking about migrating. The Dimo token will also, and already is on Base, but will remain on Polygon and Ethereum where it currently is, and Optimism, and potentially other chains in the future. So the token can be wherever users want it to be. So we're talking about moving the protocol to Base. And the reason for that, there's a couple of reasons. I mean, just like, obviously Base has an incredible community, incredible developers. Optimism ecosystem in general is like a really great place. There was, I think Electric Capital put out something on like developers by chain, and Base is like clearing away the most popular ETH L2. So it's just like a good community to be a part of. Related to that is being on the same chain as liquidity and other apps. So a lot of people think like, don't you want to be where all the other DPINs are? And it's like, well, we kind of want to be where like the on-chain car insurance is, and on-chain car titles, and NFT marketplaces, and where Daylight is. They do energy. They're an energy DPIN, and we can do things with electric vehicle charging. We want to be where Blackbird's a cool one. They're on Base, and we'll mint a food truck Demo and display its location in Blackbird. So we want to be in a very broad ecosystem. So Base is good from that standpoint. I mean, so is Solana, but Base is good from that standpoint. And additionally, the biggest customers that we're going after, sure, we want to onboard as many users as possible, but at the end of the day, we're going after the big automakers, the insurance companies, the banks, who desperately need, they get the idea of Demo like instantly. When we explain this to them, they're like, oh, this is so needed in our space. They understand the problem very acutely. They get it faster than crypto people do. And Coinbase is just a great brand, and they built a lot of great products for larger institutions. So if you're a large institution, you have Coinbase custody, you have on-ramps, off-ramps, you have the comfort of knowing kind of like the company that's behind this thing from a brand and from a security standpoint. So Coinbase and Base just make a lot of sense for that as well.
Makes sense. Could you also give kind of a timeline for that migration? From my understanding, it might take well into 2025 to be fully there.
I think well into 2025 seems right. There's a lot of unknowns as to how we'll do it. It's complicated. Like if we were, a lot of projects are just tokens, but we are the cars and the connections and the permissions. It's kind of a tangled web to try to move. And so there's some research still needed to be done, but we think end of 2025 is a realistic timeframe for it.
Gotcha. You also mentioned Daylight, Blackbird, other applications on Base. Do you see any potential partnerships or more composability with Demo in the coming year or beyond that?
Yeah, 100%. I don't want to like get ahead of anything. There's nothing, signed and official with any of these guys, but we like these projects, and it's pretty obvious how we can partner. I think in crypto generally, just like, projects partnering with each other and building things out just makes a lot of sense from a specialization of labor standpoint, from a marketing standpoint. Let's expose each other to each other's audiences, build cool things together. So yeah, I'd love the idea of doing these types of projects with other crypto projects, including ones on other ecosystems. Like, there's a ride hailing app on Solana that we like, that we could certainly, we're not in competition with. We want to complement them and provide them with trip data and verified drivers and verified cars to power their experience. So, we'll continue to try to partner with whoever makes sense to.
Yeah, on that, how do you see autonomous vehicles kind of changing the landscape for driving and driving data? Is it going to be much more just cars driving on their own and connecting to Demo? Just what are your thoughts on that?
It's definitely, honestly, I think the connected vehicle concept is so much more important in an autonomous car world, because these are going to be like autonomous agents. And for example, like your self-driving Toyota should be talking to my self-driving Tesla, should be talking to the traffic lights, letting it know it's coming, coordinating traffic, coordinating charging station availability and route planning. You should be able to get out of your car. It's actually the first version of Demo, nothing to do with crypto. It was you get out of your car at the entrance to a parking garage, and your car goes and parks itself in the garage and pays for itself. And other cars get out of the way to make room for your car to move in, and you can kind of coordinate them all as a hive mind. Like, truly impossible right now to do that. The best you can do is for your car to like use its cameras to move itself around other things that have no idea of its presence. But the much better thing would be to have like a kind of comprehensive network and a protocol to connect them all. So yeah, we become really important in this world, and you're going to need interoperability between not only vehicles, but external sensors, roads, all kinds of infrastructure. And Demo is like the neutral open protocol that can enable it.
Yeah, you kind of outline an IoT type vision and maybe a smart city type future. Is there like a critical mass of cars or vehicles that need to be connected to Demo to make that reality?
The reality I just mentioned, I mean, that's certainly not a 2025. I mean, maybe we'll see how fast we can move. But it's interesting. It's different levels for different types of use cases. So like 10,000 cars connected was enough to get a lot of developers really excited about building on Demo, that were building, maybe maintenance applications, car sale applications. Because you got to remember, like even 10,000 cars times the value of those cars, we're talking lots of money. The current, the value of like the current connected user base in Demo is like in the billions, because cars are worth, 20, 30, $40 million, or 20, 30, $40,000. So yeah, 10,000 was enough to get a lot of developers interested. There were a lot of bigger, like name brand public companies that said, come back when you have 100,000 cars connected. And we do. And we did come back, and they're interested. And we're talking to them more and more. So it depends. And then 1 million cars is going to be even more deniable. 10 million cars, we start to become, a household name. 100 million cars, the world's connected, right? So yeah.
Or do these devices, they depend more on location, like a concentration of Demo connected devices in like one area is more valuable, or can it be more distributed?
There's not that many cases where concentration matters that much. Now for insurance, a lot of insurance companies go state by state. The big insurance companies are pretty nationwide, but like some of them are state or country focused. So there's some value there to like having like a geography focus, but sure, like if you're doing traffic data, maybe a local concentration is helpful. But otherwise, like it's mostly applications for car owners. It's like insights into their vehicle, how to think about maintenance, how to think about fuel. And for that, you just need the connection.
Are there plans to integrate other types of data as well? Like, I guess HiveMap or Nadix, they collect more visual mapping data. Would that be valuable for Demo?
This is something that we'll have to figure out how to tell the story on better, because yeah, absolutely. Like we are not meant to be that opinionated on what data we get, or even what is connected. So I tweeted, I think yesterday, the day before, that we're simply just starting with cars. But in the future, there's no reason, I mean, other types of mobility, but also just like you could use our same identity primitives for houses, for computers, whatever, to give anything identity and payment capabilities and so on. And yeah, we collect telemetry data from the OBD port, but there's no reason video data can't be another type of data. And we're working with some partners who would be able to bring that in as well. And attestations. So like if your insurance company wants to issue you a credential saying you're insured, or you want to get an attestation that you're registered, or that your Uber driver rating is 4 stars, I want to give you a review, an attestation. We want to collect all this data and make it available to developers. So yeah, we're 100% thinking about it as a identity and data availability protocol, of which like video data could be part of it.
Also, more on that IoT vision, with a large vehicle network, is there a potential to bring in different kinds of devices or machines onto Demo and create an even larger network?
Yeah, We think that, look, you think about like crypto, this industry, there hasn't been enough focus, in my opinion, with a lot of these projects. A lot of people launching L1s that have no use cases or users. It's not a surprise to me that we haven't really hit like mass adoption. I think projects need to focus in a little bit more on solving a specific problem first before they go super broad and generalized. So yeah, we've been approached to start a DePIN chain. And sure, like, if we announced that we were an L1, maybe the market would like that, but it would make it a lot harder to find product market fit with any real customers.
I always jump in on the Deep In podcast with usually one or two really dumb questions that show I'm behind the curve on this. But I guess the first one that I have is like, can we get more specific about what car data means? Because in my head, you say car data and I can picture like 100 different things that you're collecting. So I guess what specifically are you going after now? And then we kind of touched on what some of those future data points could be.
I mean, it's 200 different things. There's so many, there's a super long tail of things that we're able to get from like the coolant temperature to whether you're using the windshield wipers or not. Like, and maybe you could tell if it's raining that way. There's so much data that we're able to collect. It's interesting for most developers. The most important thing is just they want to know the VIN. They want to know that the car is real. They want to know the odometer of the vehicle. They want to know the make, model, year of it and where it is. For most use cases, you would think that's like pretty basic, but they can't get that. And we can, after that, it's electric vehicle charging data, the state of charge, the battery degradation. With EVs, like the battery health is super important because, whereas a normal gas car at the end of its life is worth $1,000 if it still runs, an EV is still worth, 15 grand because that battery can be so valuable if it's still usable. So, but you can destroy batteries by driving it terribly and letting the battery die and supercharging it every single time. So being able to track that is super important for battery warranties, insurance companies, dealerships who are buy used cars. So yeah, so that's another big category. But then there's a long tail after that, everything else that we can provide on the data side. And then on the command side too, if you can lock and unlock the car doors, then all of a sudden someone can build a peer-to-peer car rental app, right? Where I just text you a link to go drive my car for the weekend. So again, it's more than just data, but
not to pigeonhole too much into like the data marketplace or like data collection area. So it sounds like to me there is obvious demand for this data, but there hasn't been an infrastructure for there to be an actual marketplace for the data prior to Dimo, if that makes sense. So does that mean, I guess, what's the state of demand at the moment? Are large institutions or incumbent players ready to buy the data right now? Are you waiting on like long sales cycles? Are there like new startups coming in that want to buy this data today, or you have to wait for development? Kind of curious how that demand side is developing.
Yeah, earlier I said we're kind of like the Plaid for cars. And if you ever used Plaid, I used to go to like a budgeting website or something like that, and it would say like, there was a button that said connect your bank with Plaid, and you would click that and then it would pop up and you would, log into Chase, and now the app can see your spending data and tell you you're spending too much on Netflix or something. We did not have that button that connects your car with Dimo button until a couple of weeks ago, and it's still not even really finished. Like it was like the V1 MVP of it, and we're refining it to get it really ready. So we have a lot of developers smaller developers who are much closer to launching now because they just needed that and they're on their way. Demo.royal.club is a really cool URL you can check out if you're a Tesla owner. You can connect your Tesla and they look at your charging data and give you cash back on your carbon offsets. They'll use your data to go file for carbon offsets and sell them on your behalf and just give you money for it. So that's a fun one. That's up. In its very rough MVP state, but they're working on refining that. We have a fleet telematics app launching next week. So there's a lot that's coming. I can't speak to the big names because of agreements and all that. And you're right about the longer sales cycles, but not as long as you think. Like we're not talking multi-year sales cycles with these guys. There's some proof of concepts that are moving forward and hopefully some big names to announce soon.
Awesome. That's all I had. Dylan can take over again.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess just also want to ask, like, what else are you excited about in DePIN, or what do you think will be most successful?
I mean, I'm excited about the fact that like a lot of these projects are showing early signs of real product market fit. Not to say that other parts of crypto haven't, because they absolutely have, but it's a different kind of product market fit. Like The product market fit of a CryptoPunk or a Bored Ape is it's not as traditional at the very least. It's a bit more like art collecting and a social and status thing. To see some crypto projects that are finding like commercial traction with incumbent enterprise is really interesting. I think you're seeing that with stablecoins. I think you're seeing that with DePIN, and more DePIN projects are kind of have their on-chain revenue. Starting in 2025, you're going to see that from us too, where we're going to start to show our revenue on-chain and get that into the hundreds of thousands, millions in ARR pretty quickly. So I'm excited to see that true product market fit. That it's a journey, and to see that journey continue. And I'm excited to see these apps start to be more composable and work with each other. Like I mentioned, things that we could do with Daylight. I'd love to do that in 2025.
Very cool. Yeah, let's also just go through maybe the roadmap or milestones over the next year for Dimo.
Yeah, well, it's connecting a lot of users and it's launching a lot of apps. So like with your phone, right? Like when you first got an iPhone, you probably had like the YouTube app, the web browser, the email, notes app, and maybe that like lightsaber app that lets you like go like this with your phone. It would make lightsaber noises. Like that was like what your iPhone was. And now you probably have 100 apps on there. So right now when someone connects to Dimo, they have one app, the Dimo mobile app. And ideally in 2025, when they connect to Dimo Mobile and 6 other apps, their insurance company, a social app, an app for collecting NFTs based on their real world driving, a Pokémon Go-style app. So what we're optimizing for next year is the product of the number of cars connected times the number of apps they're connected to. We want to get that number as big as possible. Additionally, I mentioned earlier, we want to make it possible for anyone to run a node and to really decentralize even more in 2025. So that it's an unstoppable protocol that can go global, not just for like security and decentralization reasons, but for like innovation and growth reasons. So we're trying to unblock that. We'll launch new countries, we'll launch new products, and it should be a great year. We have a solid foundation for it.
Very cool. Is there any question you would want us to ask you?
I guess the only other question you could ask me is, what should somebody who likes Dimo do? And the answer is they should download the app, Dimo Mobile in the App Store, and they should connect their car. Because if they have a newer car, it's free. It takes a couple seconds. And if you have an older car, you can buy our device for $169. There's a discount code right now that's probably going to still be running when this launches. It's called Holiday 15. Get 15% off of it. And sure, it costs some money, but you'll earn rewards and make your car smart and get access to the data and be able to track it. And someone tows your car, you can see where they towed it to or whatever. So you can do all kinds of fun stuff with it. And there will only be more things for you to do with it in 2025. So I'd say get your car connected.
Gotcha. Are there any socials you want to?
I'm Rob M. Solomon, most places, ROBMSOLOMON, Twitter and other places, and Dimo Network, Dimo_network on Twitter. Follow us there. That's our main channel.